Does the devil need you to lie about him to make him seem bad? No, he can do bad all by himself. So if your enemy is so bad, why do you need to make something up? Shouldn't it already exist? Let's talk about it on Azimuth Podcast. I'm Kimberly McNabb, and with me is Barrett McNabb.
Thanks, Kimberly. Yeah, so the U.S. Military Academy at West Point is apologizing after an employee said that Pete Hegseth was not accepted nor applied to the prestigious academy. And, an officer came out and said, look, our employee made a mistake. And
big mistake.
Exactly. Mistake, and he forgot to put air quotes in this because it is not to be the registrar's office, who has applied and who has not applied. And so, could it be that President-elect Donald Trump nominating Pete Hegseth to be the Secretary of Defense had anything to do with it, and clearly, this, he wants to make a lot of changes in the Pentagon and all of the Department of Defense. Do you think this was a deliberate thing to make him look bad?
Well, it could be, but it just makes me think, if they lie about this, what else are they lying about? I mean, if they had to lie about something so stupid to make him look bad, is he really that bad? Yeah,
I mean, so really what this is ProPublica was doing this story, and they're just trying to generate bad press. So they asked if Pete Hegseth had applied to West Point, and they talked to the registrar's office, and the person said no. Not only was he never accepted, he never applied, and so they said, well, we're going to go ahead and we'll ask again. We'll do due diligence and ask twice. And again, same answer. Nope, it never was. So they do what a lot of the media does. They've pre-written the story. They call you an hour, the subject of the story. They call them an hour before publication. Said, look, we have this story. We're going to run it. Would you like to give a comment? And if you don't give a comment, then they just change a little bit of the story to say, when asked for a comment, the person declined to comment or had no comment or whatever it is. Well, Pete Hegseth, he went ahead and did a boss move, and he went ahead and, prior to the story coming out, published on X his letter of acceptance into West Point. Right, and so that forced the United States Military Academy at West Point to the PR team to come out and say, "Oh, we actually looked a third time, and turns out he was accepted." And what it was, he applied in 1999, and he was accepted into the class of 2003. And so he has the letter. It says, thank you so much for applying, and you're proudly accepted. Now, he wound up, I guess, not wanting to wait to go to college that long, so he went to Princeton. But still, he did ROTC and did commission as an officer. But still, this just seems very fishy that because people are wanting to prepare for a potential Pete Hegseth Secretary of Defense job, that they're just setting up roadblocks.
Well, I think ProPublica should thank Hegseth for saving them real embarrassment. Oh, wait, they don't recognize that sentiment, because that would be like admitting you've done something wrong, which the left never does. Yeah,
well, I mean, this really is it's kind of like and we're publishing or we're putting the Pete Hegseth acceptance letter up, but I'm going to put another document up, and this is the document that Dan Rather used to try and smear George W. Bush when he was running for president. And it was a fitness report in the Air National Guard for George Bush back when he was, a pilot. And this is before his politics days. And the problem was there's a number of them. And so Dan Rather was just saying, hey, look at this document. He was a poor officer. This proves that he was a poor officer. And there was a couple of things, again, wrong with the document. One was it wasn't signed by anybody. There's no signatures on there whatsoever. And then the other problem is that the type that was in the font that was on the document was impossible to do in the 1960s and 70s. So, I mean, they had things like the 187th with the TH in a superscript. And, everything was done by typewriter at that time. Computers did not exist that would be able to do a subscript.
Should we show a picture of a typewriter for the kids in the audience?
Yeah, this is what a typewriter looks like, and you can see that there's no ability to change your cases and do all these creative fonts and things like that. So, but still, even when all of that was pointed, look, it's not signed, and you've got typing here that's impossible for a typewriter to do. It could only be done on a computer in Microsoft Word. Nope. Dan Rather doubled down. Anyway, he got fired. And he just got, with him falling on his sword for this document, he got absolutely fired. But this is, again, the left that is trying to create a narrative that does not exist in order to make a conservative look bad.
Yeah, well, I say they got lucky because not every story, gives you enough time to ask over and over and over 3 times about the veracity of a story. You don't get that much time.
I mean, that's a good point. Would it have been? I'll comment below. Comment below. When I'm going to ask Kimberly, but I also want to ask you: should Pete Hegseth had waited for the story to come out and then sued for defamation, or was he right to preempt the story and to publish his acceptance letter?
Well, personally, I think I really hate any sort of redactions or apologies later because, they'll put the main story on page 1 or something like that. And then they'll put the apology, if we're talking like old school newspapers, like N21 or something, in like 5 font down at the bottom so they can say that they technically apologized. And who's going to follow up with that? I mean, most people, you read just the title, which is, the same equivalency of reading just the front cover of a newspaper back in the day. They're not going to put the apology in the headline. It's going to be way down at the bottom.
Right. It's going to be with the obituaries.
And everyone's going to walk around thinking, oh, yeah, they said this about Pete Hegseth, 2 weeks ago, and that's what I have in my brain now.
Yeah. It seems to me that he is gaining ground. Any Republican senators that were hesitant are coming on board. I know that there's a number of senators, like Senator Fetterman from Pennsylvania, is looking at wanting to give him a chance and hear him out and stuff like that. So this just it goes to the methinks thou that he doth protest too much. When you have registrars in the United States Military Academy at West Point lying about somebody getting accepted into that prestigious institution, and honestly,
it's just a stupid thing to lie about.
It's a stupid thing to lie about. They say mistake. I don't believe it was a mistake. I believe this was a deliberate sabotage, and really. As he becomes Secretary of Defense, and then we have a Secretary of the Army, that needs to be looked into. I mean, it needs to be looked into to see, what this person knew, what they didn't know, how they did their searching, and whether or not there needs to be negative consequences for this civilian that deliberately lied in order to harm the nomination of Pete Hegseth. But let me know in the comments below what you think. Do you think that this is fair? Do you think that it's all things are fair in love and war, and this is war? Tell me what you think. I mean, I really want to know because some of the picks that President-elect Trump have done, are polarizing, and that people have opinions on both sides. But still, I mean, with Pete Hegseth wanting to increase the lethality inside the Department of Defense, and articles that I've read that senior long-term career officials that are not in the military but DoD civilians that are long-term civil servants they're already instituting various roadblocks, and there's general officers that are talking about setting up roadblocks and resisting, changes. And, I just see that as violating their oath to the Constitution. And, it's horrible. But we saw this and we wanted to bring it to you because I don't see a lot of podcasters talking about this one. And so I wanted to make sure that we were able to get this to you as soon as possible. So thank you for tuning into Azimuth Podcast, and please stay tuned after these messages.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all of the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.